So welcome everybody. My name is Todd Keirstead and you are watching TK Talk, stories of inspiration both on and off the golf course. I have an interesting young man right with me here. His name is Graham Trude. Graham, how you doing today, pal?
Good, buddy. I'm just hanging out, enjoying the weather today.
Yeah, it's pretty nice outside. So let's talk a little bit about you growing up. What was it like being Graham growing up?
It was interesting. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't remember a ton about my childhood, but the stuff that I do remember was great. I mean, we spent a lot of time outside playing hockey on the streets. I grew up in a place called Nottawa with an N. That's just outside of Collingwood, and so it was a small town. Lots of kids played outside still, which was nice, and you kind of knew everybody. So it was just a small community of people, which was really good.
So you got into music then at an early age?
Yeah, so I started playing guitar around about 13 to 14 years old, and I ended up, being in a whole bunch of different bands throughout high school and stuff like that. But I basically picked it up after, I listened to country music growing up, kind of even when I didn't want to because my dad had it all the time on the radio. So what happened was I started listening to one of my all-time favorite bands called Our Lady Peace, which is a Toronto-based band. And anyway, I ended up loving one of their albums, and I just figured, like, man, I really want to do this for a living. Like, this is super cool. So that's when I went to the Hawk Shop and bought my first bass guitar, and then I bought a 6-string, and now I'm doing podcasts.
The rest is history.
Yeah,
So
man.
2007, you decided to join the Canadian Armed Forces.
I did, yeah. So I was kind of fresh out of college. I went to police college in Fleming, in Peterborough, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. And then I remember watching the news and all the stuff was happening with Afghanistan and whatnot, and I thought, well, I'm young and I'm stupid, so I might as well try and go and do something like that, and serve my country and whatnot. And really, it was just one of those things where I kind of wanted to do something that had some meaning towards it, because I had done so many things in my life that didn't really have that valuable meaning towards it. So that's when I joined up. And then once I joined up, I ended up going to Afghanistan I started out in St. Jean, Quebec, doing basic training. Went out to Gagetown, New Brunswick, and did my DP1 course. And then I went to Edmonton, Alberta with my regiment, Lord Strathcona's Horse. So it was a armored tank regiment. And then I ended up going to Germany, doing some stuff out there for the Leopard 2A61 battle tanks. And then we went to Afghanistan in 2009.
And then you came back from Afghanistan and in 2010, and I guess then started immediately, it was an easy transition. You went to school for law enforcement, and you got right back into that when you came back home to Canada.
Yeah, so I mean, I wish I could say it was an easy transition, but I mean, realistically, it was crazy, man. Like, it was hard. When I first ended up coming back, like, I was, I remember my major and my sergeant always telling me in the Army, they're like, grass isn't always greener on the other side, and they were right. It was really hard for me to get a job. I mean, like, I was fresh home from overseas. I didn't really know anything about other than tanks, and I couldn't get a job in policing at the time anywhere in Central Ontario because it was so hard to do, and that's where I'm from. And I ended up like working as like a restoration company and a jail guard for the OPP and like doing some stuff like that. But it was all just kind of part-time gigs. And I couldn't even get a job at a Mark's Work warehouse when I came home. Like, it was hard. Like, it was really, really hard. And, I was living barely paycheck to paycheck, struggling in my brother's basement.
Mm-hmm.
So, no.
So then so obviously then you got into law enforcement. Now, where did that take you?
Yeah, so I ended up applying for some really interesting style law enforcement, not your typical, OPP or Toronto Police or something like that. I was like, hey, I got to do something a little bit different with this. And I ended up applying to a place called the Anishinaabe Police Service. and short form NAPS. And it was a First Nation service that covers like pretty much all of the far northern Ontario, from the Manitoba border all the way to Quebec. It's the biggest, largest, sorry, the biggest, largest, yeah, nice. It's the largest police service, First Nations police service in all of Canada. And I ended up getting my first posting to a really interesting, violent place called Poplar Hill, which is just outside of a place called Pekanjikam. And you're up there 24/7 for 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, no backup, no communications, no nothing, man. So it's really like you finish your police college in Elmer, and then you get thrown into the mix, and it's just like, hey, figure it out, learn.
Yeah, so
So
you really didn't have any guidance up there. You were kind of by yourself. You were thrust into it, and plus being a very violent community, that must have been tough.
yeah, and I mean, like, I really kind of depended on my military experience, to be honest. Like, I really held that with me, and I kept all my training and whatnot up to date. So, because I knew one day if I were to join a place like Anishinaabe Police, I might need it, and luckily I did need it in a few situations. But I mean, realistically, man, like, it's a tough job, and it was, for me, it was more of an eye opener to see that we actually have like a third world country within our own province of Ontario. So it was interesting because, for me growing up, like, a First Nation to me was Rama, and Rama is a beautiful place. They've got great people there. And then when you went up here, it was like nobody even spoke English. Everybody spoke Ojibwe. And it was just like, I was the only white guy on the floor, like on the whole reserve. So it was like a lot of them, though, welcomed me with open arms. They're wonderful people, but dealing with some of the situations got pretty heavy.
I bet it did. I bet it did. Bet it got heavy. Not only physically, but obviously, mentally. Then you were transferred into a town called Orangeville outside of Toronto, which
Yeah,
you're back into civilization.
yeah, which was really weird because, see, the thing is that, like, up on the First Nations, they don't go by the Highway Traffic Act. And basically what I realized really quickly was that all the police in like central Ontario area, that's kind of what they bank on for a lot of things. So I was used to just strictly dealing with the Criminal Code of Canada the whole time. And when I came down here, I had to learn the whole Highway Traffic Act. So I'll be honest, I'm not much of a highway traffic guy at all. I more stuck to criminal code stuff. But it's just totally different policing. Like, I mean, some things up there where you'd have to like really watch yourself or let it go in order to like keep yourself safe. A lot of that stuff down here, it's just like, it's an immediate arrest or something like that. And it's just totally different, man. Like, I can't, it's hard to explain, but the styles of policing, you really learn on the First Nations how to actually police with your voice, police with your words, and then instead of trying to bully your way around, it's a unique way of things.
Yeah, so it's a lot more diffusing situations probably as opposed to just getting out there and being the strong arm of the law.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, the big thing is that, and I honestly, I think it did me wonders because I had a really good, successful career in policing in Orangeville. I think because of that, because I didn't have the availability all the time for backup, and I didn't have that availability to call in for emergency response team or something like that. So for me, it was kind of like, all right, well, you can either keep yourself safe and learn how to use your words and learn how to tactically communicate, is what we call it, or you can try and do something that you don't want to do and end up in a bad place.
Exactly. So then you got back into music again. It probably didn't leave you, but with being in the military, being in law enforcement, you probably had to put it in the back burner. Then you got back in the music, and you got hard at it.
Yeah, man. So what happened was I ended up getting a. So I was working as an undercover operator for a little bit, which was a really cool experience. And I ended up getting involved with a record company out in Los Angeles back in 2017. They ended up signing me on a 1-year contract. So we flew to Nashville, did some recording, flew to LA and did some vocals and stuff like that. And just, it was a great experience. But, that kind of, I don't know, it dithered away when a buddy of mine approached me and said, hey, I want to bring this concept to you. His name's Chris Earl, and he's the other half of, my bread and butter now. But um, he forwarded this concept to me about the singing soldiers, and he knew that I struggled with operational stress. So he said, what's your thoughts on this? Because he has a bunch of family members who have operational stress, and he's a serving member still. So I said, I love the idea of it, and I wanted to bring something forward with my music, not only as just another Graham Trude or another Chris Earl or another whoever. I wanted to do it with meaning, and really kind of express what helped me heal and what helps a lot of other people heal, and that's through music.
So how did the name Singing? I think there's a unique story, an iconic
Yeah.
Canadian country band that came up with Singing Soldier.
Yeah, so I was in Nipawin, Saskatchewan, doing a Wounded Warriors weekend with Blake Emmons and these fellows I met out there who I'm very good friends with now, called the Good Brothers, who I love dearly. They're great guys and Canadian icons, right? So we ended up doing some shows together out there, and they ended up coining me this name, the Singing Soldier, which was kind of neat. But usually when people think of that, they think about like, oh Danny boy, and you're gonna break out with a tux.
Right.
And I'm kind of I'm a woodsy guy, so it was funny and interesting when it happened. But I guess the name kind of stuck with me, and Chris ended up looking it up first because he's a soldier and he wanted to use the name. And then he found out, oh, okay, well, there's another guy named the Singing Soldier, but I'm sure he's probably somewhere far away. And I was in Collingwood and he was in Base Borden, which, if your viewers don't know, it's about 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
that's when he ended up contacting me, and because I wasn't using the official name, the Singing Soldier, that's when we formed the band and said, now it has a little bit more meaning to it.
Absolutely does. Now you were hanging in good company. Like the Good Brothers are, if people don't know, they are Juno winners, 8-time Juno winners. They're in the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame or Canadian Hall of Fame. Like you were hanging out with some, rubbing shoulders.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what? They're just the most important thing about a lot of the people that I hang out with is they're just good, genuine people, and I think that's the most important thing. I mean, I don't, the fame and fortune and other stuff like that. I mean, it's whatever to me. Like as long as you're a good person and you mean well, then I'm attracted to you, and really that's what attracted me to those guys. It was just they were just such good people, such nice, genuine guys who wanted to help.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the songs now that are being written and performed with the Singing Soldiers do have that military background behind it. Do have the first responders. You're really focusing in on trying to show individuals that they're not alone.
Yeah, and I mean that's that was the entire concept of the Singing Soldiers in the first place, is that we wanted to make sure that instead of just us bringing this band together and going, okay, well, we're just going to bring this band and go and play some songs or whatever, we wanted to do something positive with it. So I mean, we created a foundation, which we help. It's called the Song is Forever Foundation, which we bring a lot of people, professional songwriters and professional musicians together with suffering veterans and first responders. We help them to write their own songs and whatnot. But what we wanted to do was really express like how a lot of other people were feeling, including ourselves. And just, it's hard to talk about it though, man. Like, I remember when I first started dealing with this, it was just like, I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was kind of going crazy. So that's really what kind of helped me express my emotions, was putting it through song. And then I wrote this song called Seen What I've Seen, and it ended up doing really well, which I was happy with. And um, the most important thing about that whole song was that a lot of people reached out and said like, holy, like your story right there is exactly what my story's like. I feel the exact same way, you know, and the guy that was acting in the music video, like he's acting my life. Like that's kind of what I was going through at the time, man. And there was no, so it's nice because what a lot of people are having trouble with is like getting vulnerable and expressing their struggle. And I mean, the nice thing is I'm past that stage now where I don't have an issue with talking about my addiction. I don't have an issue with talking about my trauma, because I know how much that it helps other people. And, you know, it's just a win-win for me. I've got no shame at all.
No, that's awesome. And you're putting it to good work. The song's amazing. The video's amazing. I know, you know, when a few of my friends have seen it that served in the military, kind of really hit home. So kudos to you for what you did. Now, I'm a golfer. I'm a golf guy. We got
Yeah,
a little bit of a golf spin around this. You got a little bit of golf game yourself too, and also you know the game of golf has helped you with your journey as well too.
yeah. Well, and to be honest, like mainly the game of golf just really pisses me off when I go out there to play. I don't know if it contributes to it or no, it's really peaceful, man. I have you know, I ended up not being huge into golf when I was younger. Like I played, but more it was like forcefully playing. Like my parents said, we don't want to deal with you this week, so you're going to do the golf school or whatever. But it was interesting because like when I started playing again after I got out of the military, like it is really, really peaceful. It's a great time. Like I don't drink obviously because of my alcohol addiction, but that's how it used to be. It was so I was scared originally when I started playing golf again, because it used to be beers with the boys and you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But now it's like it's more of a peaceful nature thing. Like so what I do with like it's just like me going fishing now, you know, like I really get to enjoy that outdoors and absorb what kind of mother nature gives me and just enjoy the beauty of it.
We just got to get a golf shirt made that's in flannel, and you'll be right at home.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the funny thing is that I think I'm the only guy on our golf course that's like tatted up and like everything, but I you know I get along with everyone there, and I love it, man. It's so much fun, and we have a good time.
Well, man, you know what? I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing with the Singing Soldiers. We're going to be doing some work together, and I can't wait for that to happen. It's exciting times ahead. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what TK Talks is all about, sharing inspirational stories both on and off the golf course. And Graham, it was such a pleasure having you on. And as I said, I do look forward to, we're going to be spending some time together, whether it's on the golf course, whether it's fishing, whether it's on the motorcycle, and we're going to have some fun doing it.
Yeah, buddy, for sure. Anytime.
Okay, pal. Thank you so very much, and have a great day.
All right, you too.